Hello guys, this is Bismarck and welcome back to another session on Rxjava tutorials. Today you'll be taking a dive into join operator in Rxjava. The last time we have talked about merge operator, we have talked about zip operator, then we have talked about combine latest operator, and these are operators that we use in combining emissions. So today we'll be taking a look into join operators. Now, one may ask, what is join operator? So, let's look into the definition of join operator. So, from ReactiveX documentation, you could see that join operator combines items emitted by two observables whenever an item from one observable is emitted during a time window defined according to an item emitted by the other observables. And what this means is that look at this marble. So we have the first timeline, we have the second timeline, and we are made to know that the item emitted by each of the observables is according to a specific time, and these time are also observables. Okay, so when we get into the practical session, I will show you what this means. So this pink item will be emitted according to the time given to it, and on the second observable, the white square will also be emitted according to the time given to it. So there's a window in between this layer. There's a window, and the window has to be opened before the item will be emitted from the source. And this window, the open and close of this window is regulated by the counterpart time, the time observable given to it. Okay, so if you look at this closely, though we do not know the time or the time given for each of the items in the observable to emit, but then we could see that with this function defined for the combination, we could see that the item from the first observable has a color pink, and the squarish item from the second observable has a color white. So the combining function that we are using is to take the color of the first item and combines with the color of the next item from the second observable. Then we get the latest or the results, and this is what we see from here. So with this explanation, let's go into the session so that we can get the understanding concretely. Okay, so this is where we are coming to have our session. And first of all, let's create our observable. So for example, we have the first observable, and this is the first observable, which is a long, okay, a long operator. So let's call it first observable. It's equal to, so let's use interval, which is infinite observable. So as we always do, so interval, which is taken from, let's the first observable emit at an interval of 2 seconds. So we do this by just calling this. Okay, so this is a infinite observable and it's going to emit infinitely, and we don't want that. So let's try to take the first 10 counts. So we take the first 10 counts, then also we want to see how the behavior works. So we would like to do something on next. So whenever it is emitting, let's try to log the message whenever the first observable is emitting, so that it can actually aid up with the understanding. So do on next. So it is a consumer variable function. Then the consumer function. Then we can log here. So we have our tag, our log tag, and sorry. Okay, so we have our log tag. Then the message will come. So let's be specific. So first observable, then plus the item being emitted, and we know it's long. Okay, now let's do same for the second observable. So the second observable, let's make use of the same observable source interval. and let's call this second observable. With this, let's make it emit an item at an interval of 1 second. So we just make it 1 second here, and let's take 7 counts. Okay, and here too we can differentiate by calling here second observable. Okay, so now we have our two observables. Now let's go on further to declare the time window. Okay, so we have to know the time taken for the windows of each of these observable to open. So we regulate this with observable 2. So let's take long. It's going to be long, and with this long we have first window. Let's call it first window. So first window is equal to observable dot timer. So we are going to use timer to delay. Okay, so for example, let's use timer, and for the first item it will delay it for 2 seconds. So the window will wait for 2 seconds before it opens, and after 2 seconds, when it opens and the item from the first observable gets emitted, then it will close iteratively. Okay, so we have 2 seconds, and let's do same for the second window. Second window too, we are going to have, let's make it open at the delay of 1 second. Now we have this. So what we can do next is to declare our function. So this is the result selector. So we could declare a function, probably a function like this, or we can do it in the observable so that it will actually make our work look small, not too much. So we have observable dot join. So let's first of all join the first with the second observable. So the first observable dot join the second observable. So we're going to join the second observable, second observable join second observable. Then let's give the window for the first observable to open. So we call the first window and second window for the second observable to open. And now we have to declare our result selector, which is obviously a function. So it takes a by function. Okay, a by function is nothing like a function that takes 2 parameters. So we know that the first item is emitting a long data type, and so we also know that the second item will also be long. So we replace this with a long, and the results will be a string. You want it to be a string, so we replace the R with string. Now here we have to make modification here. We make it long, then the item being emitted or returned should be a string. Okay, so now we can, let's see, first window, second window. So okay, so here we are calling them the parameters. So we have to call the windows. Okay, so the window that is going to be emitted, so we have to call them, we have to call the windows. Yeah, so let's see. So here's supposed to take a function. So the first window is actually operated or regulated by a function. So we have to make it a function of long, and has to take, so the first, so we have to take so here is going to be long, and here too is going to be long. So as I said, the parameter or the function that regulates the time is also observable. So here is going to be, so let's return first window, and same will go for the second observable. So new function which takes, so this also takes long and to take long. Okay, so let's try to collect. So we will, let's try to collect. So okay, so let's copy this. So we subscribe, so we subscribe to these emissions. We subscribe to this emission. Okay, so we subscribe to this emission. So let's subscribe to this emission so that we don't have this yellowish highlighter. So disposable, let's go to this, and the emission has been subscribed. Okay, so here is going to be V, and this is nothing but the item. So results. Okay, so results. Fine. So this is all that we are looking out for, and let's return the second window. That's the second window here. Okay, so simply this is what it's doing. So the first observable is being joined with the second observable, and as we demonstrated with the marble on the documentation page, the first observable is emitting, is going to be emitted based on the time window. Okay, the time windows given by the observable here, and the second observable will also be emitting based or according to the second, the items emitted by the second window here. And whenever these emissions are combined, emitted, then they will be combined with a selector function, and it is using by function. But what is being observed in here is that if you have actually paid attention, or if you have followed me keenly with my videos, you will see that we had a session on combined latest operator. So the join kind of work in the same way as combined latest. So unlike zip operator will wait for all the emissions to be done, okay, before it is being triggered to the downstream. But with the combined latest and the join operator, they do not do so. So as long as we have one item emitted in the tray by the other observable, it will be emitted. So it will just combine whatever is available. So when, let's say, the first observable emits an item, it combines with the second item. Any item of second observable available will be combined and being emitted. So our function that we are going to use to combine these items, let's just use a simple one, just concatenation, string concatenation, so that it will be simple. But actually, when we are working on a production, it depends on the business rules, or it depends on whatever, how you want to what you want to achieve. Okay, that will define your function. But here, with this example, for better understanding, let's use a simple concatenation. So string dot format, strings of format, and so we say first observer, so first item, let's make it first item, and let's print it, and second item, then we print it. So here we'll take a long, and what we have t right. Okay, so that's the name given to it, and that is all. So after, so the first item will be emitted when the window has been opened, and the second item will be emitted when the second window has opened. And when we have this item emitted, they will be combined and finally emitted to the subscriber. So let's run this to see how it works. So we are running it, and let's clear the locks, the lock cuts, so that we can see what's going to happen. So it will be done running soon. Okay, so it's running. Let's see. Okay, so as we can see from here, so we could see that first of all, the second observable got emitted as we have. So on do next, these were logs. So these are the logs coming in. The second observable got emitted in emitted 0. Okay, and the first observable also emitted 0. Then it goes on to the second observable to emit 1. Now we could see that the second observable is emitting more often than the first observable, and this is because the first observable is made to emit item at an interval of 2 seconds, and the second observable also made to emit an item at an interval of 1 second. So in that fact, we know that the second observable will be emitting more often than the first observable, and that's what is being shown here. And let's see the combination. Now the first item, we could see that the combination we had first item, so we combine the 0 emitted by the first observable and the 0 emitted by the second observable. Now the second observable emitted 1, but the first observer hasn't emitted yet. So the second observable item, which is 1, got combined with the first observable. So now the results, we have first item 0 and the second item 1. Then again, the second observable got emitted again, and it emitted 2. But we still have 0 as an item emitted by the first observable. So the 2 got combined with first item, and this is what we are having. So guys, so that's all about the join operator. It looks cumbersome, but then with a split of their functions, we will understand it. Okay, so the second item or second operator, which is close to join operator, that I would like to treat is group join. So the group join, if you understand this, the join operator, the group join shouldn't be anything to worry about, because it virtually has the same functionality with the exception of the by selector. So with the group join, let's try to go to the marble to understand how the group join works. With the group join, you could see from here, it says most of the reactive S implementation that have a join operator also have a group join operator that is similar, except that the function you define to combine the items emitted by the two observables pairs individual items emitted by the source observable, not with an item from the second observable, but with an observable that emits item from the second observable that falls in the second window. Is too much to consume. But what it simply means is that this is how I understand it. So the group join operator has the same functionality as the join operator, but the difference lies in between the result selector. That's the function. We could see that with the result selector, it always brings the item from the first observable. Okay, the first observable is what is the priority, so it takes the item from the first observable, then it will look out for the source which has which hold all the emissions. Okay, and it is being looked at as an observable. So this is what we have here. So basically, it takes the item from the first observable, then it looks for the sources. It could be the first observable or the second observable in this case, which holds all the up-to-date item emitted, and it will be passed to you as observable. Then you return an observable function. Okay, but then when we are printing, because it is an observable, we have to actually make use of one more operator, Rxjava operator, so that we can get the actual value being held here. And here I'm using concat map operator, and so we could run this function, and you see that it works similar to the join operator, but not the same. But then, as I said, there's a difference between, you could see the difference in between the two from the selector. I mean the result selector function. So that differentiate between the join operator and the group join operator. So let's run this and let's see what happens. Okay. So it's running. Let's see what we get from here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, what are we getting? Okay, so the same way we could see that on the next we have the first item emitting 0, the second item is also emitting 1, and this is because of the time given to it. We could look at the time. You will see that the time given to it is different. So this emitting as 2 seconds at interval of 2 seconds, and the second observable is also emitting at an interval of 1 second. Then again, the first item is being delayed at interval of 2 seconds, or delayed for 2 seconds, and the second observable is also being delayed for 1 second for the window to open. Then we make use of the by selector function and we combine it. So guys, so this is all about the join operator and the group join operator. It seems cumbersome, it seems difficult to understand, but if you look at it very well or you practice with it, you will get the understanding. And don't forget to subscribe to this tutorial if you haven't done it. We'll be releasing, or we'll be treating a very interesting topic each and every week. And if you have more time, I'll be bringing you the juiciest stuff, let's say more than one or twice in a week. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do, so that you don't skip the sessions. Okay, so have a happy coding and bye.